Hi everybody and welcome to your Wonder Afternoon today with me. So what we're going to do today, we are going to carry on with our RE learning. Okay, so I'm hoping that you can remember that we are now focusing on our 5 pillars of Islam. So last week we're going to do a quick rewind. We focused on the first pillar, which I have given you a little help here. I've told you what the meaning of it is. So it is the dedication of faith. And the little statement underneath, there's a few things missing though. So what I'd like you to do, just to wake your brains up before we start our new learning for today, is to rewind. What was this pillar called? And could you fill in that statement there to know that God is the only and is his Let's see if you can remember those key points that we took away from our learning on Monday. Brilliant. I'm hoping you've had a little go at that now. So our first pillar was called the Shahada, and it is the dedication of faith, the declaration of faith, sorry, that should say, and to know that God is the only God and that Muhammad was his messenger. So I'm hoping that you've remembered that and you made your symbols of the first pillar last week. So today, a little look on this. So my extra little question then is, how do these impact on the life of a Muslim? And we had our little STEM sentence that hopefully you will be able to remember, that they are the duties of a Muslim. And it's how they put their faith into action. So Shahada was their declaration of faith, their dedication to their faith. And today we are going to be focusing on pillar number 2. So let's get started. We've had our little rewind. We know why they're important and we know what the first one is. We are going to now be exploring today. We're going to explore Salah. Okay, and it is going to be some new learning. Unless you are one of my experts of the Islam religion, then you probably know a lot more than even I do. So again, if you've got any extra bits or information that you would like to share with me, I cannot wait to see it. And why, again, just so that we can begin to understand what impact this has on the life of a Muslim. Okay, so let's get started then. So I've done a little bit of it's going to be a little bit more like reading comprehension, so it is there on the screen and you can listen to me. So I'm going to read it through, so I just want you to be listening and making any notes that you would like to, because there is going to be a little pause quick quiz for you to have a go at. Okay, so any notes that you would like to write down, and you can write it down. So prayer for a Muslim is partly about the sense of space and peace, and they turn to God 5 times a day. Okay, it's a way for Muslims to unload their worries, ask for forgiveness, and seek some peace of mind. Men should pray at the mosques whenever possible. However, ladies do not have to go to the mosque. They are encouraged to pray in their homes. Once a Muslim reaches the age of 10, they must then start to pray. Okay, so up to the age of 10, that's when they are expected to then begin to start to pray. When praying, let me just change that. It's a bit of a typo there, sorry. When praying, a Muslim will always face in the direction of the Kaaba, which is actually a building in the center of Islam's most important mosque. And it's in Mecca, which is their holy place. Okay? And before prayers, Muslims perform an important ritual called the wudu, where they wash their face, arms, head, and feet. Okay, so let's just have a little pause so that you can then take your extra notes that you would like to take from that. These are some of the key important parts around the Salah prayer pillar. Okay. Now, I've got a little extra bit of a video for you here, which is just giving you a little bit more information on the wudu. Okay. So hopefully you've got your notes. If you haven't, just have a little pause of this video so you can still see the screen, and then come on back when you finish collecting your notes, the important parts of Salah and the prayer in the Muslim faith. So let's have a little look at our wudu then.
At 12, Kaisten's old enough to perform Salah, the Muslim prayer ritual, 5 times a day. Like all Muslims, before he prays or touches the Muslim holy book, the Quran, he makes sure he's clean. This is the washing ritual, wudu.
So first, turn on the tap and you would wash your right hand 3 times up to the wrist, and then your left 3 times up to the wrist. You then gurgle some water in your mouth 3 times. You then sniff some water in your nose. After that, you wash your face from your forehead to your earlobes to your chin. You wash your arms until your elbow, your right hand first, then your left hand 3 times. You then wipe your head all the way and come back down, and you can put some water in your ear, and then you go into washing your foot. It's important to be.
Okay, so I've just paused it there because all I want you to do is just have a little pause and have a little think. Why do you think this is so important for Muslims to do before they pray? Why do you think they do this washing of their hands, their arms, their face? Why do we think, before Kazim actually tells us the answer, what do we think? Why do you think it is important they do this before their prayers? Hopefully you've had a little think about that. Shall we see what this little boy has to say?
Clean for prayer, because prayer is a form of speaking to God. So you want to be clean with him because he is the creator, so he deserves to be worshipped clean. Your right foot first up to your ankle. Make sure that the water touches in between your toes and your ankle. You are now ready to pray or to do other certain acts of worship where you need to be purified.
Okay, so we've had a little chance now to just sort of get a general overview about prayer and the Salah, second pillar of the 5 pillars. And we've also learned a little bit more about the wudu, which is what they do before they pray. Okay, so all of these are really important aspects of Salah, of prayer. So hopefully you've got your notes now. Hopefully. If not, have a little pause. And collect your notes. So we are going to do a little bit of a pause. So everybody just pause. And we're going to have a little go at my little let's see where we are quiz. Okay, so here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions there that is just about what you've just heard or what you've just read or what you've just listened to from our little clip there. So Salah is the pillar. So there's a word you need to fill in there. The second one is, how many times a day do Muslims pray? What must Muslims do before they pray? Give one reason that Muslims might choose to pray. In what direction must a Muslim pray? And name one difference between men and women when praying. So one difference that there is between men and women when they're praying. So have a little pause, have a little go at those questions for me, and come on back when you are ready. Okay, so I'm hoping you've had a little go at that quiz. Now it's time to have a look at how we did. So Salah is the second pillar, is the one that we're focusing on today. How many times a day do Muslims pray? We have learned that they pray 5 times a day. We're going to learn a little bit more about that in detail in a second. What must Muslims do before they pray? It's wash, and it's called wudu. Give one reason that Muslims pray. Now, I gave you a few here. So their main is to speak to God. They may be asking for forgiveness. They may need to unload their worries, or they may need to seek some peace of mind. Maybe just having a little discussion with God to just make them feel a little bit better. And in what direction must a Muslim pray? It is facing the Kaaba and Mecca. So you saw that they might have a compass on their prayer mats, or they may use their phones to make sure that they are facing in the correct direction. And one difference between men and women when they pray, men are encouraged to go to the mosque, whereas women are encouraged to pray at home. So it does show that prayer can be done anywhere, okay? But the most important thing is it has to be clean, which is why they do their washing ritual before they do their prayers, but also their space has to be clean. So the men are encouraged to go to the mosque, whereas the women will pray at home. So let's see. Congratulations if you got all of those right. Well done. If you didn't, don't worry. You can hopefully be able to go back to these questions at the end and you will be able to smash them all. So let's get on then, learning a little bit more about Salah. Okay, so here is some extra information then. But throughout this, there may be some words. So you can see up here already, I've already popped a word selector in red. So what I'd like you to do during this is the words that are in red, once we've had a little talk through all of this, I'd like us to create our own little glossary of some of these key words to help us really, really understand. So, as it said then, there are 5 daily prayers for a Muslim and they are compulsory. That's the first word then that I want us to have a think about. What does compulsory mean? If you're not sure, you could use a dictionary or use your Google or whatever to find out what that means if you're not 100% sure, and just write that definition into your books for me. And their prayers all involve a series of standing up, bowing and placing their bodies on the floor, so different parts of their bodies. So their palms touch the floor, their foreheads, their noses and their knees touch the floor. Okay, so you can see that they keep a lot of their middle body parts off the floor, and it is these key parts that touch the floor. So it's a range of standing up, bowing and then putting their body parts on the floor. So any sort of prayer will be a series of these movements, okay? And you can see there that they are all taking part on a prayer mat. So that is what keeps them separate from the floor, okay? But as we just said, it has to be a clean space. So the reason then, why do they pray? So it shows humility in front of their creator. So obviously their creator being Allah. There's another word, humility. You can add that to your glossary, find that definition. It shows respect for their creator. So obviously they believe that Allah, God created them. So it is showing him respect. It is going back to him for forgiveness, to speak to him, to ask for anything that they may need. It reminds Muslims that they are dependent upon God. So if it wasn't for God, they would not be on this earth. Okay, so they are dependent, they need him within his life. But again, finding the definition for me. And it helps Muslims to be obedient to God. A really great word there, obedient, okay? So I'd like you to pause this video and just reread those sentences for me. Find out those definitions of those words if you're not sure what they mean, and then you will hopefully be able to develop your own understanding, because you now know what all of those words mean and you can then put them back into those statements. So compulsory, humility, respect, dependent and obedient. Okay, so those 5 words, going into your books and finding those definitions for me. Then come on back when you have done that. Brilliant. So I'm hoping that you've now got a greater understanding of why Muslims pray. Okay, why they have those 5 prayers. Now, alongside those 5 prayers, you may also be able to make a small personal prayer, okay, which is asking God for whatever they wish any time of the day. So at any part of those 5, they may choose to do a little extra prayer, which is called a dua. Okay, now this is a little small personal prayer. Okay, so it's called a dua. My turn, dua, your turn. Wonderful. So this might be in sort of conjunction with any of those 5 prayers today. So my question then is, what sort of things do you think that a dua might be used for? And so what are those small personal prayers? Why do you think those might be necessary sometimes? And once you've had a think about that, of what things they may choose to pray for in their own small, I want you to then try and flip it back onto yourself. Okay, so what things might you pray for? Is there anything specific that you might need to pray for right now? Okay. So we're going to think about other people and then we're then flipping it back onto ourselves. So once you've had a little reflect on that, what do you think Muslims may use this little dua prayer for? And what things would you personally choose for right this moment? If you had to think of a small personal prayer, what would you be asking for? I'm just going to give you a little minute just to reflect on that. Okay, so I know one thing that I might pray for at the minute is there are obviously lots of ill people at the minute, maybe some people that you know. So a small personal prayer might be asking to just send them some love, making sure that they are going to be okay, maybe help them to feel a little bit better. That might be a small personal prayer that might be quite apt right now, but lots of people may actually be using their dua for. It might even be something as small as they've got a test coming up, asking them to just send them some support, some guidance with this test, and hopefully help them to do the right thing or make the right choices. Okay, so let's zoom in then on those 5 daily prayers. Okay, now you can't just do them whenever you want. There are set times of the day when these 5 prayers must be completed. So we have the morning prayer, which is prayed an hour and a half before the sunrise until sunrise. Okay, I'm just going to move myself up. Try and move my way over there. There we go. So this is prayed an hour and a half before sunrise until sunrise. Okay, so that's really, really early in the morning. We've got your noon prayer when the sun is at its highest peak, which is probably around lunchtime. You have got your afternoon or your early evening prayers, which is between the noon prayer and the evening prayer. So in between those two, you've got to do another one in between there. You've then got your evening prayer, which is when the sun sets. So obviously that changes throughout the year, what times our sun sets. And then you've got your night prayer, which is an hour and a half after the sunset. Okay, so those are the set 5 times that Muslims must pray. So remember, mosques, men are encouraged to go to the mosques, but obviously it's not always going to be as easy to get to a mosque, but luckily they are able to pray in their own homes or places that are clean. Okay, so what's your opinion of this? Do you think there are any challenges to this, having those 5 prayers, if you think about your daily life? Would this be pretty tricky, or do you think you'd be able to do it? Just what's your general opinion on these 5 prayers? So morning, before sunrise. I think some of us would struggle to do that one. Noon prayer, around lunchtime. Early afternoon is between your noon and your evening when the sun sets. And then your nighttime prayer is an hour and a half after sunset. Okay. So I don't need any answers for that. It's just to prompt your thinking. Okay. So as a little activity today then, you've learned all about Salah, and a really, really important part of Salah is the use of the prayer mat. Okay, so we've already done our learning about the mosque. The mosque has a prayer mat, a larger prayer mat on the floor. Okay, but obviously if you're then praying from home, it's really important that you still have that prayer mat to separate you from the ground. Okay, so all I'd like you to do today is to create your own prayer mat while reflecting on all of this learning that you have learned about Salah and prayer. Now, it is a very important role, and it supports prayer. Ooh, got another typo there, do apologise. It supports our prayer, which can be done anywhere as long as it's clean, as I keep saying. And it has to be facing towards the Kaaba. So you can see on my examples here that most of them have got some sort of point in the centre. You can really see the centre of the mat, okay, because this really, really will help when you're pointing it in direction. You can just aim that point. So that's a little extra feature that you might want to include in your prayer mats. Most of them are geometric shapes and patterns. So you can see we've got a building there, but you can see lots of different circles, patterns. This has got a whole centre. I like this one here. It's got most of the repeating pattern around the outside, and then just a sort of a shape that looks to me like the dome of a mosque there. So all I want you to do is to design your own. So it is for you. It would be for you. So if you want to choose your favorite colors, your favorite shapes, you can do, okay? But remember, let's rewind. The most important thing about your prayer mat, and you will notice on my examples here, animals and people will not be pictured on prayer mats. Now, we have learned about this. Can you remember why animals and people are not pictured? I'm hoping some of you may have remembered. It was a long time ago, okay? But it is the belief that no animals or living things can be recreated as good as Allah. Okay, so his magnificence at creating these animals and people should never be done by anybody else, because it was Allah's job and he did such a brilliant job of it. Nobody could recreate what he did. So it is a belief that animals and people are never pictured. Remember, we were talking about the artwork that you might see in people's homes. A lot of it is written, calligraphy, when we were doing that. You will never see people or animals pictured. Okay, so remember that when you're creating your own prayer mats. I can't wait to see all of the fact collections, the quizzes, and finally your prayer mats that you have done this afternoon. And I will see you all again soon. Goodbye.